Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of EXCL Garage. As you can see, it's a little bit different this episode. The GT86 isn't here. So let's get into that and show you some new parts I've got, talk about some exciting gearbox bits, all ready to go head first into the ELS world when it gets back. Right, so as you can see, the GT86 isn't here, as I just said. It's actually off at paint. It's having a professional painter paint the engine bay in Audi Nardo Grey. Just a nice little neutral colour to offset the LS that's going to go in there. Speaking of, here it is. Put the engine mounts on, ready for when the car comes back. But we also got some new bits that go along with this. And that is here, the gearbox. So we're going to be diving into those this episode, having a look at them. Probably not getting anything on, obviously, the engine or the car that isn't here. So we're just going to be doing a little dive into kind of what we have, what the plan is of any of them, and bringing you along for that little journey. So let's dive into it. As I previously stated, I've taken out the Sicky engine mount kit and installed it on the engine here, just ready for when the car comes back, we start getting this dropped in. But we also have some other new parts. The smallest of which is a pretty cool aircon kit here from a company in the US called Savage Auto Works. And they were kind enough to help me along with this because, well, there aren't actually any aircon kits that work with right-hand drive cars. And that's just due to the slight differences between the left-hand and right-hand drive aircon systems. So first off, they 3D printed me this adapter, which I was able to test fit for them, make sure it works all right. Once confirmed, we got the proper billet one, and just got some line fittings screwed on there for now. This is a nice little piece. It just obviously presses onto the firewall and relocates the outlets for the aircon. Got plenty of hose to make my own lines. I'm going to be measuring those and giving them the measurements so they can do a proper right-hand drive kit. Got the various adapters for the condenser here. There's another one. Hose adapters for pressure sensors and whatnot. And then the adapter for the actual AC compressor once I get that. So that's that. Nice and simple. But good fun. Also got a small bag of AN fittings and fuel line, PTFE lined fuel hose. And that's to make my own fuel hose from the engine. Already got one of the fittings on here, just a little push fit connector, goes straight onto the OEM fuel line, and then I'll run a line all the way back to the fuel tank in the car, which I also need to get a fuel pump for. There's a great big shopping list for parts that I still need for the car, so when I can, I'm going to start ordering bits. A lot of it has to come from America, so obviously I'm just biding my time on that. But let's not beat around the bush. Here's the exciting one. The new T56 gearbox from Tremec. So there's a couple of bits I need to do to this. While I've got it out, I need to bolt the bell housing on, take some measurements. So why don't we get it out and start having a look at it? Right, here we go. So finally got the gearbox out of the box. Definitely not light. As you can see, the box basically just fell apart, holding it together. So as I said, this is a T56 Magnum from Tremec. There's also the T56F, which sends the gear stick selector back about 7 inches, and an EXCL, which sends it back miles. Now technically, the F would have been a better fit for the car, but I had already bought the drive shaft over there for the Magnum. So, Magnum it is. It's absolutely fine now. I can get a little shifter linkage and just send it back a bit. No big deal. So, what I need to do is I'm going to get the clutch slave cylinder on here. Sorry, the clutch release bearing. Just goes on like so. Just need to bolt that down. Won't hurt a little bit of Loctite on these just to make sure they don't back out. Or a lot of Loctite, it would seem. There we go. Now we can have a clutch that releases. Speaking of clutch, it's up here. But obviously we're not going to get that out today. Also have a fancy remote bleeder line for this, so there we go. Just had to get the thread started. Threads in here. There we go. Nice. And finally we need to get the bell housing on. So Bell housing might need to come off again, so I'm probably not going to use any Loctite on it. There we go. Oh, there we go. Right, so I've got assortments of bolts. I'm not entirely sure exactly which ones I need, so let's... Alright, so just need to get these bolts in now. Hold the bell housing on, quite important, you would say. Now I might end up replacing these. I'm not quite sure I care for these non-flanged ones. Apparently the OEM ones are a flanged head, so might just source some of those instead. But these will do for now. Like I say, the bell housing may have to come off at some point anyway to replace the clutch release line. There we go. The last bit is I just need to make a measurement. So for lack of having a proper spirit level or flat, let's just do that. So what I'm measuring here is just how far the end of the drive shaft sticks out past the bell housing. And what this determines is whether this bearing that came with the kit that goes in the back of the crank will work or not. There's often differences between manual and automatic, but just between different T56s. The verdict is an inch, pretty much on the dot. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's keep that in mind. So I don't actually have the exact measurements to hand I need to confirm, but I'll go away, look it up, and if I was right and that bearing will work, it'll be on screen here to confirm. But with that out of the way, we're basically done on the gearbox now. It's looking good. What I'm going to go away and do now is I will take off the gear stick. Not only will that get in the way when we're trying to push the engine in, of course I think I need to replace that to move it back a little bit. But let's also show you the last two bits of the puzzle up here. Let's get all this stuff out of the way. So up in these boxes we have a flywheel, just an OEM GM1, nothing crazy. Of course it is quite heavy, being that that is just a big slab of steel. Perhaps one day down the line I might replace it with a lightweight one, but really that just helps with revving. You know, it will build revs quicker, but it also drop revs quicker. So this one will do. And located underneath that was my clutch. Again, just another OEM one. Nothing particularly crazy. It should hold up to you know, many hundreds of foot-pounds of torque. So the clutch cover and the clutch disc itself. Just a normal single disc organic clutch. Nice. And that's it. That's all the new parts. There's loads of parts I need to buy still. Still need to buy new steam port block-offs that go in here. Boring bits like that. Got to get new valve covers. Of course, got to get the wiring harness still. Got to get the water pump that goes in the front there. The alternator, air conditioning compressor. And that also leads me up to the last bit of the puzzle. So here is the GT86's right-hand drive clutch pedal. Now, if you're watching from America, there's no point watching this because you guys have a totally different setup. But there is a solution that the guys in the States sell that will allow a decent clutch master cylinder to fit in their clutch pedal. And I'll flash a couple of pictures of how that looks up on screen now. You can see how it's quite a nice little tidy piece. Unfortunately, all the GT86s have this spring. I don't exactly know what it does. I think it just helps pedal feel, or that was Toyota's idea at least, but a lot of people say it feels weird. Anyway, in the American version, I think it's mounted off to the side. It's not in the middle of the pedal, as you can see. And that, of course, makes it tricky to mount a clutch master. I have, stop giving you guys a headache. So let's lay it on the table here. So basically, as you can see, I've put a bit of paper here, card, which simulates the firewall. So I essentially have about that much room to fit a clutch master in here. I have about 50 mil sticking out the firewall, so up to about there. gives me about 210 millimeters in total. It also has to include about an inch of pedal travel. And of course it's got to fit in between there, and it can't be too much higher than coming out the top there. So it really does limit my options. Either way, that is the last piece of the puzzle. There's not much information online from people that have done this, that have a solution for right-hand drive, so I'm a little bit stumped. But I've taken plenty of measurements of this. I'm going to get up all kinds of drawings and start laying them over the top of each other and seeing which will fit, and go from there. But that's it for this part of the episode. I think what we're going to do now is wait till the car comes back. Should be back this weekend. So I'll come back and show off that newly painted engine bay. And then really, there's a couple of bits I need to do. Need to get all the brake system back in. Need to probably do something to protect the engine bay, perhaps ceramic coat or just lay loads of tape down while we're getting the engine in and out. Probably need to do some sound deadening stuff. Need to mount the oil filter. There's a lot of bits I need to get back in, but we can start swinging the engine in. Now I might have to come out a couple of times, especially while we're doing all the clutch master shenanigans and bits with the gear stick relocation and running the fuel line and so on. That's just part of the game really when it comes to doing an engine swap. Like I say, going to start ordering new bits, got wiring alter. Anyway, let's not bore you with that, and I'll come back to you guys when the car's back. So, back in a moment. Right, so there's a couple more steps I need to do to this. Probably need to replace this fitting with an AN fitting. And the reason for that is I've recently come up with a solution for the clutch master. This is a new day now since the last time I taught to you. So let me talk you through that. So of course, here's the clutch pedal assembly. I think I've shown you this before. Got the hole in the firewall there. So my solution now is to get a kind of OEM Camaro. They're using a few cars, the Camaro, the Pontiac, G8, things like that. Get an OEM one of those. I'll flash up on screen now. You can see that it's quite compact, it's remote, and I'll superimpose it on top of this here so you can kind of see my plans for that. Also doesn't have a big firewall mount. It mounts, who knows, I can probably just run a bolt through it and some nuts to hold it in place. And it's got a bit of a funny outlet, as you can see, but thankfully I'll flash all this up on screen. You can get these Earls fittings, go into the outlet, clip in, and just give you then a dash for AN line. And likewise, as I say, I'll do the same on the other end down at the release bearing. Thankfully it's quite cheap. It's only about 40 quid for one of these masters, so if it doesn't work, I've not thrown away a couple of £100 getting a Wheelwood or a Tilton one. They also weren't quite as compact, so who knows. Look what's come back in. So as you can see, got the car back. Let's have a little look at the engine bay, shall we? Just laid the core radiator support there, just so you can get kind of a picture of it. And I mean, this thing's just looking absolutely incredible. It looks better in person than it does on camera, unfortunately. But as you can see, the guys just did a really good job. And yeah, it's all gonna look absolutely incredible once the engine's back in here. Got a long weekend coming up for the Queen's Jubilee, so thanks, Liz. I'll get some time off work, can spend it on this. And there's a few bits we need to start doing to this. As you can see, got to untape all the wiring, start laying that back out. Got to get the brake system back in here. Yeah, it's all full steam ahead, really. I think that's where we're going to end this episode. We're cracking to the next one, but I won't leave you here. I think the painters did some footage of them, a little time lapse of them spraying the whole thing. So I'll show you that now, and then we'll sign off. And there we have it, guys. The 86 is back, ready to start diving into this freshly painted engine bay. Hopefully not scratching it up. Might do a few things to protect it first. Might give it a little ceramic coat. Obviously I'll put down tape. Just trying everything not to scratch the lovely new finish. Other than that, I've got to get loads of things ordered. It's probably going to be a bit of a wait time on them. Hopefully I can bring you some more content with, of course, redressing the engine bay, getting the clutch and flywheel on the LS, as well as a few other bits. Got an AN fuel line to make, never done one of those. Got to run that through the car, so that's something as well. Absolutely loads to do. This is just the very kind of peak of everything. It's all downhill from here in a good way. Kind of all going towards that finish line now. So there we have it. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you think the engine bay looks good. If you do, if you have any comments about it, drop them down below. I'd love to hear what you think. As always, guys, give the video a thumbs up for a nicely painted engine bay. Consider subscribing to the channel so you can keep up to date with all the progress going forward, getting the LS into the GT86. Until next video, I hope you have a good one, guys. Hope to see you then. Cheers. Bye for now.